Everyone said I should forgive, but I wish I were in their shoes and I could also utter the same words to them. Forgiveness is quick and sweet to say when you don't know where the shoe hurts. I know where it hurts, and forgiveness is far from it. I am still traumatized by the night I stumbled on the one thing that changed my world. My beloved husband wasn't cheating. Instead, he made our intimate moments public and made money from it. Who would have thought that money for bags, shoes, and jewelry were all my hard earned money, not the money I got from my husband? He sold our love-making moments on a porn site and was lavishing the money on me. I confronted Adeshola that very night I discovered it. And you know the rest. He took me to the bedroom, got down on his knees, wore a remorseful look, and started to beg. I am so sorry, my love. It was not intentional. It is the devil's handwork. I wish I could meet the devil and ask him if it was truly his idea. But I know he would laugh at me because my husband himself is the devil in our home. I refused to be consoled that night and cried myself to bed. The following morning, I sent a message to our family members thinking I was doing the right thing. Eh? What has the eyes not seen before? Kí lójú ò rí rí? His father blew hot the moment I finished my tales. Adeshola wasn't the only son, but he was the wealthiest and his father's favorite son. So it wasn't surprising when he stood beside him. I turned to my parents for help. But who would dare say a word when the person in question holds the key to their livelihood? We weren't poor as a family even before I met Adeshola. We were average. But Adeshola has given my parents a taste of wealth and they wouldn't want to return to where they once came from. All they did was urge him to beg me and promise never to do it again. Mofolawe, you will have to forgive your husband. He has done wrong and as a wife, forgive him. Rota ọmọ ẹ mọ́ lára. Think about your children. They all agreed with one voice. To tell you I was pain was an understatement. It felt like a spear pierced my heart and the pain was unbearable. I cried out in a loud voice, stormed out of the meeting I had called, went to my bedroom, and locked myself in. I refused to leave despite pleas from my mother and husband. My mother took care of my kids, and I had the whole time to think, cry, and wallow in pain. After days of mourning my loss, I put off my sackcloth, freshened up, and came out to continue my normal routine. My parents were happy to hear I have agreed to forgive him. As a sign of letting go, I organized a dinner date at a restaurant, invited my husband, and he was more than glad to attend. Adeshola. I began my statement after our last plate has been cleared by the waiter. You hurt me, and it is really deep. But I'm hoping to let go a step at a time, at least for the sake of the children. Adeshola was glad to hear that. The children were everything to him, and he promised to pull down the videos. Why should he? I told him to leave them, but on two conditions. He should promise me a percentage based on every revenue we generate, and also agree not to make any videos of me or secretly upload any videos of us again. And he agreed. I ensured we had a written and signed document in the event of the number 2 condition. That was my first step to revenge. My revenge plan was in 4 steps and I already overcame the first one. I convinced him to give me 60% of the revenue generated from the already posted videos, and after many back and forth, he agreed. Apparently, 20% of this money goes to his friends every time he cashed out. He was diligent in paying the money, and I immediately converted them to foreign currency anytime the alert drops. I have a thriving business, and the money wasn't really needed at that point. Saving them for future purpose was the ultimate goal. I became a good housewife to my husband and our parents, and I pretended to have forgiven all the issues. My next step was convincing him to allow us to relocate abroad. Honestly, that has been his long term goal, but I was going to ride on it and use it to my advantage. We agreed that we would go through the educational route. He will be my dependent while I support the family and his education. We sold all our properties, including the cars and the houses, to sponsor our trip abroad, buy a house, and also ensure we have a comfortable stay upon our arrival. We got our visa approved at our first trial, and I was so excited. Although it almost drained our life savings, the next step was done. We settled in well, and I intentionally didn't get a job on time. I would sometimes leave home to search for jobs, go to arcades or cinemas, spend the whole day, and come back later at night looking exhausted and lamenting bitterly. My goal was to drain the remaining funds we were relying on so that the third step could be activated. It wasn't long before our savings drained out and Adeshola became pressured. We had bills to pay. He couldn't work and I wasn't getting any jobs either. I could see the worried looks on his face and acted like the good supportive wife that I was. Babe, can we can we make videos and post them, but we can wear masks to shield our identities? Adeshola proposed one afternoon after the gas ran out and the electricity bill was due. I knew the moment I was patiently waiting for had come and I was happy. I declined his offer immediately and told him never to bring up such again. He tried convincing me over and over, and I reminded him of his pledge. I recorded our conversation because I knew my husband, and I was certain that once a criminal, always a criminal. I saw the evidence of his illicit acts in his hidden folder on his laptop, and I immediately copied it. He had secretly recorded our moments, and once again, it didn't blow my face. I already recorded the moments when I refused his request, and I was going to nail him with this evidence. I went to the police and filed the charge against him. We were far away from his family and friends, and I was sure he would dance to the tune of his actions. The police picked him up at school, detained him, and he was immediately charged in court. He kept claiming I was his wife and I consented to making the video. We went to court, and the last evidence I used against him was the signed document. The document that showed his pledge never to record me without my consent. He was found guilty and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment and deportation immediately after his sentence. His admission was withdrawn when the school learned of his act. As he was being tracked to prison, I served him divorce papers. Part of the terms was that he was not entitled to the custody of his children, and since they were females, he couldn't contact them until they came of age. He was too stunned to even utter a word as he was dragged on. That was my final act of revenge. Adeshola agreed to the divorce, got deported after his sentence, and he went back to Nigeria with nothing in his name except a criminal offense and a black record. Everyone called me wicked. I should have thought of the kids, they all say. But I did this because of them. I considered my kids and concluded they shouldn't be around a beast that saw their mother as a cash cow. If a woman wants to teach you how to avenge, even the devil takes note. I am that woman and I got my sweet revenge.